much, Kieran and Gary. I now call Padraig, who's joining us online. Padraig, your 5 minutes to make your opening statement.
Thank you, Cahill and members, for the invitation to speak today. My name is Padraig Hannafin. I'm the public affairs researcher for the Rehab group for the last 15 years, and I've been a wheelchair user since 1999. I want to begin by sharing a few lived experiences that explain why transport accessibility is not an abstract policy matter, but a daily fundamental barrier for disabled people. On the 23rd of September, I travelled from Cork to Dublin with a personal assistant to help launch the Rehab group's pre-budget submission in Leinster House. On arrival at Houston Station, the wheelchair accessible taxi I had pre-booked informed me that his ramp was broken and cancelled my journey. A second driver arrived shortly afterwards, rolled down his window and said that his ramp wasn't working either. When the third taxi eventually came, my PA and I had to show the driver how to reconfigure his own vehicle so that my not unusually large wheelchair could fit in. I was scheduled to speak first on that day. I barely made it to speak second last. I wish this was a rare exception, but it isn't. I have waited in the rain because of a bus already had one wheelchair user on board. I have entered taxis whose ramps were too steep and too short so that they were unsafe. On my last train journey, the ramp was so steep that my wheelchair safety feature engaged to stop it from tipping backwards. My nursing team can always tell when I've been abroad because I return with bruised knees from inadequate, undignified transfers onto an airplane seat. If you want to see dignity stripped away from a person, watch a disabled passenger getting to their seat on an airplane. During COVID, many people struggled with a 5-kilometre travel restriction. For many disabled people, this is normal life. I am in the fortunate position to own an accessible van of my own. Without it, I would be permanently locked down, unable to afford taxis, and unable to reach the nearest bus stop 500 metres away because the route involves rural roads without footpaths and with fast-moving traffic. These are only some of the experiences I have had, but sadly, they are not unique to me. Through my role in the Rehab group, I hear similar stories every day. In a recent survey of 600 service users across 90 focus groups within Rehab, 53% said they were dissatisfied with transport service. This is especially stark because when asked which service they could not live without, the majority answered transport. The people who use Rehab services are striving to enhance their lives through education, employment, and community participation. Transport links these opportunities together. You cannot access education if you cannot reach your college. You cannot get a job if you cannot reach an interview. And you certainly cannot keep a job if your transport options repeatedly fail. I want to bring in here the voices of some of our service users within Rehab. One said, "I have no rural transport. I depend on my sister to buy the groceries for me and my mom every Friday, as taxis are too expensive." Another said, "My mom has to drop me to the bus stop because it's too dangerous to walk. We need safer footpaths." Another said, "Ringing the train ahead to book the ramp is not easy. You really have to plan in advance and you can't just decide to go." And another said, "There is only one wheelchair accessible taxi in Castlebar and it only operates Tuesday to Saturday. There are no options the other 2 days of the week." Disabled people are disabled by the inaccessibility of the world around us. To create equal access, we need more accessible buses, especially in rural areas, that can accommodate more than one wheelchair user. We need to upgrade and maintain infrastructure, ramps, lifts, stations, and ensure mandatory disability awareness training for drivers. Travel vouchers or taxi subsidies for people on disability payments or low incomes to ensure transport is affordable when public transport is not an option. We need representation of disabled service users on local transport committees and regular user surveys and continuous updates to services based on lived experiences. Transport is not a luxury. It is the foundation for independence, dignity, and equal participation in society. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you very much, Padraig. And I was the chairperson of that launch that Padraig attended it back in September, and it was quite embarrassing for us all that Padraig couldn't, and the terrible journey he had. So I'm really happy that Padraig was able to put that now on the official record of that trip that he had, and I'm sure it wasn't the only one where he had problems. So thank you very much.